Beltway wisdom also holds that Sarah Palin would be a Republican rock star and a fundraising magnet, despite the damage she's done to her own elected office prospects recently. That, it turns out, may also be wrong. There's news today that the Republican candidates in the only major statewide elections this year, the governor's races in New Jersey and Virginia, are both cool to the idea of Palin joining them on the campaign trail. Republican Bob McDonnell of Virginia told the Associated Press he still doesn't fully understand the announcement Palin just made about her own career. And a spokesman for New Jersey Republican gubernatorial candidate Chris Christie told the AP flat out, quote, "We don't have any plans on having her in." Joining us now is New York Times columnist Frank Rich. Mr. Rich, thank you very much for coming in. It's always nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
I had Mark McKinnon on the show last night,
right.
And I had planned to ask him if he was working for a Republican gubernatorial candidate right now, would he want Palin to come raise money? And at the last minute, I didn't ask him the question because I felt like it was so obvious that the answer was yes. Of course, anybody would want Palin to come campaign for them if they were running as a Republican. Now it seems like that common wisdom might be wrong. Do you think it's correct?
Well, it's half and half. Look, in the majority of the country, which means blue America and purple America, she's persona non grata. That's why they don't want her into New Jersey and Virginia, because she'll only hurt their cause in close races in states that are Obama states. The problem is, she is the biggest star in the Republican Party. This is all they have left. We're seeing what's happening to all the other potential stars. You know, Ensign and Sanford both thought they were possibly presidential candidates for the next go-round. So Palin is probably the biggest fundraiser for the party. So the question is how they maneuver this to get her into places where they'll love her, you know, South Carolina, Utah, Idaho, and not further damage the national Republican brand, although you have to wonder, it's so damaged, maybe it doesn't even make any difference at this point.
Well, I mean, one of the ironies of all the Republican self-destruction this summer is that it has been all of these people from the very sort of same part of the party, these family values conservatives, Ensign and Sanford and Palin. And I don't feel like 90s politics are going to come back. I don't feel like they can be a family values party anymore, if only just because of all this embarrassing hypocrisy. But I don't believe that right-wing Republicanism is going to go away. So if they lose the family values platform, what do they run on instead? What is the new right of the Republican Party?
I think the new right of the Republican Party, and you see it most of all in Sarah Palin, is this sense of grievance against the elites, for starting with Obama, but then, you know, the mainstream, so-called mainstream or liberal media, and also the elite of the Republican Party. They don't really like people like Mark McKinnon, for instance. And so there is this kind of populist, angry thing going on. A lot of it focused on Obama, but there's a following for it. And it's separate from the, you know, same-sex marriage, abortion, those issues. It's related to it, but it's different, and that's the note Palin's been hitting.
What sort of policies would a movement like that support?
Nothing good. I mean, it's the only policy is, you know, I see Russia from my state. I mean, the whole point. It has no real content. It's this unfocused anger. You know, you see it on someone like Glenn Beck. Some of it's aimed at Wall Street, which is traditionally a big part of the Republican Party, but it's just a kind almost nihilistic, and I think therefore somewhat scary if it burns out of control, and a problem party has to deal with.
The part of it that I see a little scary, and I realize that other people aren't focusing on this as the main point of Sarah Palin's sort of weird implosion over the past week, but her railing against the ethics complaints. First of all, there aren't that many ethics complaints. Right. There's like 3 of them that are outstanding. The most serious ones were all filed before she got tapped for the VP. But to make that the issue, to focus in on that as the talking point to explain why she had to get out of public office, ethics complaints, this accountability stuff, to crusade against accountability, citizens' means of keeping their elected officials in control, seems to me to be a sort of dangerous form of grievance politics for people who actually want to get elected.
Right, particularly this is a party that's still coming off the Abramoff scandal. One of their other few marquee stars, Newt Gingrich, had his own set of scandals that are not that far in the past. Yeah. But I think it's kind of a desperation to try to find something, and it'll be something else. But underlying it is, you know, you look down on us. You look down on us, working people who go out fishing and have, you know, grandchildren out of wedlock, and, you know, you're a bunch of snobs, and it's a minority market for this, but it's a loud one, and it'll shell out money for her and for Republican candidates she supports in those places where she is wanted.
Briefly, do Democrats just stand by and watch this happen? Is this a fire they just watch burn in the Republican Party, or should they be throwing people cans of gas and helping this along in some way?
I think the Democrats should ignore it, let them commit harakiri, and then deliver on the promises that Obama's made to the country.
Oh, you radical.
A radical idea.
Frank Rich, New York Times columnist, always great to have you here. Thanks for coming in. Coming up,